everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Mallory Watson. I'm the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for Conductor. We exist to empower small business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders in Central Arkansas. We do this through workshops like today. This is Startup Stories, but we have some other workshops that we host here, anything from marketing to finance to culture building. And we also have one-on-one consultations with our team and an SME network called Conductor Connect. You can learn about all these resources that we offer at arconductor.org. We have different networking events, pitch competitions, and all those things. And we have startup stories, which we're really excited about today. It's sort of a celebration of someone's entrepreneurial journey and how they got to where they are today. They share all of the things, good and bad, and then there's also free lunch, so that's an exciting piece of it as well. So I'll go ahead and let Brent Treece come on up. He's with Fit Financial.
Well, good afternoon. Right now, we said my name is Brent Treece. I know I see a lot of familiar faces in here, but to be honest, I'm really a pretty social person. I come in here early and leave late a lot of times, and end up staying up there in my hole all day long. So I appreciate the opportunity to come share. I'll be honest, putting this together was kind of fun and kind of challenging because what we do is kind of tough to explain quickly. So, and those of you that know me very well at all, getting to the point quickly is not one of my strengths. So I'll go ahead and jump in. We do have a lot to cover, but first off, just wanted to share a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Faulkner County. I've lived in 3 different towns in Faulkner County, but I'm born and raised here, and we love it here, and it's where my wife and I met at UCA, and we now have 3 kids, and I don't see us leaving anytime soon. So have an incredible family, love the outdoors, huge Razorback fan, and I really just love people. I think that's something that hopefully you'll see that by the end of this, but it's really what ultimately drove me. Kids, Trip, Tinley, and Tuck. Trip is crazy because that picture was just taken in the fall, and he looks completely different now. It's been quick, but he's an awesome musician, loves the piano, guitar, learning the violin. Tinley is she is full of life and our social butterfly. She loves playing volleyball. She's a really great volleyball and basketball player, and she's just like her mama. She's gonna be a good one. So, and then Tuck, who is 10 years old and loves World War II. I don't know if you can read his shirt or not, but it says warning. May start talking about World War II. It's kind of weird how much he loves that, but that's definitely the picture. So, anyways, then that's just us. I'll kind of move on. So just a quick overview of our team. Okay, so we have Sean Gillenwater. He's a CPA. He's our senior tax advisor. He is not here today. If you guys are aware of the tax calendar, he's probably taking a nap or sitting at home in his boxers watching cartoons or something. I don't know. He's had a long couple of months, so we're glad that he get a few days off. Then we have Carrie and Anna Shannon, who are here with us. They're sitting in the back, and the two of them, I could spend a lot of time talking about both of them, but Carrie and I really kind of grew up together. We didn't meet until high school, but we still had a lot of growing up to do when we met. So we've definitely grown up together. He's taken a very unique path also that has kind of led him into this industry, and is currently working through his RICP program. A designation, which is a registered income planner for retirement. So really excited for him as he continues to move along. Anna is an awesome addition also. She has joined us just recently. She has a really incredible background also that's very different than the rest of ours, and already we're seeing the perspective that she brings to the table and just how incredible that it is. But I think what you'll see among everyone, except maybe for Sean on his bad days, we love people. We really do. We love people. We love seeing people succeed. accomplish goals and getting to enjoy that with them, because if we're being honest, sometimes it's kind of hard to do for people, right? So I'm going to try to move through this pretty quickly, but the path that led me to here is a pretty important one to understand what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. I took a very different path to becoming a financial advisor than most did. I do not have an MBA. I do not have a degree in finance. I did not take over a book of business from, I'm not a second generation financial advisor. What I am is I'm a business owner and an entrepreneur. And, what I started realizing as I started cutting my teeth in that industry, the industries that I've been involved in, is that there's just a lack of great outside the box thinking when it comes to creative finance and even just tax strategy. So the journey really started with a lawn care company, mowing yards, right? I think there's probably a lot of journeys for young men that started that way, and I've been mowing grass for money. My first job was with one of my dad's friends, and I was so light. He had a riding lawnmower that he had to actually strap a brick to the seat so that it would stay running, because I couldn't reach the clutch and stay on the seat at the same time, right? So I naturally, just picked up some lawns around our house and mowed. And one weekend, my dad's lawnmower blew up, and he went and bought a new one next week. And I was like, hey, awesome. Like, thanks, Dad. We got a new mower. He's like, no, I got a new mower. Right. So it forced me to go buy my own lawnmower at 13 years old. I was not real happy about it, to be honest. And so to justify the expense of lawnmower, I had to pick up a couple more yards, right? You fast forward a few years, and we officially started the business in 2001. By then, we were doing a little bit of landscaping, but we started B&A Lawn Care. Was the 100% owner of that, and let me tell you, it was a really large entity then. Something really to be impressed by. But it's grown over the years. We have an incredible team there now. One of them is sitting here with us right now, is Stefan, that is definitely keeps me in line more than I keep him in line. But in 2010, we sold the business, the majority of it. And sorry, I need to go to the next slide. We sold the majority of the business in 2010, and I learned a lot up until then, just managing people, managing finances, building systems and processes to a growing team and business, and the value that brought to us. It was really incredible, and I was just super hungry to learn more. Going back to a lot of the events that I went to, networking is a really big thing, and I think you'll hear that consistently. Networking. There's just so much wisdom floating around out there. But when we sold, I was 26 years old. I was about to turn 26 years old. I never really dealt with an event like that before. Right? I definitely had never had that type of income in 1 year before. Didn't know what to do with it. So I went to the professionals in my life, right? My financial advisor, my CPA. My CPA in particular, when I asked him, hey, what can I do to minimize this tax impact? He basically said, hey, congratulations. You had an incredible year, and people that have good years pay taxes, right? And so I left his office, did a bunch of research. They didn't have as much available on the internet then, but did a bunch of research and came back with a plan that I had read up on. And he said, yeah, that would work. And it really kind of made me take a step back, like, hang on a minute, right? I'm not a CPA. I asked you this question. He's a very reputable CPA in our community. Why didn't you tell me that there were options when I asked, right? Of course, I didn't ask this to him, but that was just the take. There has to be a better way, right? So fast forward, a little bit of overlap here. I was a full-time fireman in North Little Rock. It really, 24 on, 48 off. It allowed me to really aggressively focus on our business, bring in good people, pay them well, and reinvest back into the business in a safe way. We never lived above and beyond our means from what I brought into the fire department, and that really just allowed us to be really aggressive in the growth of our business and our investments. And but while at the fire station, I learned some pretty unique things there. Right, I was involved with our union negotiating committee, worked with the sorry, I keep forgetting my slides. I worked with our negotiating committee that negotiated the benefits and pay with the city. We had a lot of success there. We had one contract that we signed that literally put millions of dollars in our benefits program and pay, along with some safety stuff. And that was to be a pretty young guy at the time, that built some a level of respect with some of the guys around the fire department that I don't know that I could have built any other way. And ultimately, I found myself, when you're at the fire station, you have to understand, we spend more awake time together than we do with our family a lot of times, right? So, those guys were like my family, and you look up and you're having really deep conversations about, name the topic, right? Finances were definitely on the table. And that was when I really started understanding that the way I think about things and process things maybe isn't that normal. I didn't know that it was a good thing necessarily at the time, but and a lot of me was like, man, this guy is super smart. What in the world is he doing with his time? This is crazy, right? So I jump in the office, pull up Excel. I love Excel, think in Excel and process in Excel, which I know is really exciting for most people, right? And I caught myself building out these models to just show people like, hey, this is simple math, right? This is compounding interest. It's working for you here and working against you here, but it's always doing one or the other. And, a few years went by and random people would start showing up at the fire station. They'd come in with their information. And I'd sit down, put it in Excel and map it out for them. And, people are retiring the next day and other people are, getting their credit card debt under control. But that was when I really developed a passion and thought, there might be something to this. And my wife and I like to really make sure that we bathe every major decision in a lot of conversation and prayer. And we really felt like, as you can kind of see that dot, I don't know exactly where it was at on the timeline, but it felt like there was a change coming. And so we decided that, we're going to go test this out. Let's go see what's out there. I really enjoy this industry, I think, right? So we started exploring. I searched every financial advisor in Central Arkansas. And I kind of had a metric that I won't go through that I narrowed them down. And then I went and met with a lot of them. I went and met with them to be honest with you, kind of interviewing them. I met with them as a client. I wanted to see how they approached me as a client. And I really expected to have some wow moments, and I didn't. It was very basic, very give us your information, we'll put it into this system, come back and meet again, and ultimately, if this is your goal, put X amount of dollars in Y account for Z years and then retire and everything's good from there, right? And again, I caught myself thinking there has to be a better way than this, and it really got pretty discouraging, if I'm being honest with you. I think about David James in the room. I think about a conversation. I vividly remember where I was standing when I was expressing frustration of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to work with any of these. Like, this is not fun, and there's nothing strategic about any of it. No matter what's in the name of the business, there's nothing strategic about any of it. And anyways, I started, David really helped me start unpacking things a little bit, right? And ultimately what it boils down to is everybody does stocks, bonds, and mutual funds well, right? I mean, you gotta have to. And I always thought that a financial advisor was the guy or the gal managing the accounts, moving the money, buying and selling, trading, right? That is not the case. There are some that do some, but if you're in the relationship business, that's probably a really difficult thing to add into it, right? So I wasn't too concerned about stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I realized that when you think about diversity, most people think about diversity within the market, right? the split between stocks and bonds, for instance. When I think about diversity, I think about real estate, business, stock market, insurance, right? There's a lot of really good tools out there. You just have to know what they're used for and where you can get them, right? And so I started realizing that, I've been using a flathead screwdriver as a hammer because who I worked with didn't educate me on this. I'm not sure that they were educated on it, right? So it's something I'm comfortable with real estate, right? To date, we've done a lot of transactions on real estate personally. I've started a few businesses, sold one, bought a couple of small ones into B&A over the years. Stock market, I've already covered that. I feel like we pay people to manage those accounts well. Insurance was the one outlier, right? It didn't, I read some things that told me that it was very different than what I was told that it was. I've always been buy a term, invest the rest type of guy, right? And so I realized, hey, I want to go somewhere that knows insurance really, really well, and makes that a part of their planning so that I can understand my weak spot, right? And try to create a strength in that weak spot. And so I found a local advisor, came in, met with him, ended up joining his team, worked there for a few years, and learned a lot about insurance. It doesn't fit everywhere, but where it fits, if you design it properly and fit it where, put it where it's supposed to go, it can really maximize your assets in a way that nothing else can, right? And I don't, I just, again, buy a term, invest the rest. Anything else is a scam, right? I was listening to Dave Ramsey for sure, right? High in fees, low returns. He would say you're stupid for doing it, right? My financial advisor, I feel like he knows everything. He would tell me this, right? And high net worth clients don't need insurance. That's what I always thought, right? Once I got into the business and realized the tools in the insurance drawer, and where they fit, and when you design them properly and put them where they're supposed to be, it can really do some pretty cool stuff. And there are no fees in a lot of the insurance, most of the insurance that we put in front of people. And my advisor, at the end of the day, he knows what he's been taught, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's some really great advisors out there that only know what they've been taught because they've been with the same company since day one. So moving on down the timeline, I realized I still needed to be able to go do my own thing. I love real estate. I love business. I'm not going to push everybody to the market or insurance. And frankly, was getting slapped on the hand a lot for not doing that. And eventually we decided in 2022 to open Fit Financial. So Fit Financial finances, insurance, taxes. In the big three buckets. So in the process of opening up, the focus was really, and we're gonna touch on this slide a couple of times. We'll come back to this a couple of times, but this was a really big part of what I wanted to do. Right? I didn't want to be one of these individuals. I didn't want to be one of the professionals in your life that you're talking to or hearing from. I wanted to have the opportunity to really understand you as a business owner or an individual, where you've been, where you are, where you want to go, right? And the networking part, right? That's probably one thing I left out about my opportunity to work with a company that's more insurance focused. They're financial advisors, but definitely more insurance focused. Is the network across the country, the people that are doing it really, really well, not insurance, but holistic financial advising. That was always my problem. I had this vision. I'm a visionary by definition, and I had this vision, and I couldn't properly communicate it to anybody. But once I was able to go see other people doing it that way, it really helped me understand that hey, there is a better way, and there are people out there doing it, right? So I knew that I didn't want to sit in all these seats, and I could make the argument that I'm not necessarily an expert, but a generalist in a lot of areas, and do a really good job at bringing the right people in. Okay, so in my time at the previous company, I had a lot of really large opportunities, had a few really large opportunities that blew up at the very end. And they blew up with their CPA at the table. What happened, right? In order for this plan to work and the client get the maximum benefit of it, the CPA has to understand it and be on board. And if there's one thing that I've learned the hard way, it doesn't matter how polite, kind that you are, but when you who are not, I'm not a CPA, am telling a CPA, nah, actually, like you can do that. We do that pretty often, right? That just doesn't ever go very well. So I knew that the first order of business for me was finding the right fit and getting a CPA and tax advisor on our team. And so I would love to say, oh, it was really easy and it didn't take much time, but I bought a lot of lunches, most of which I was ready to end by the time the water got to the table. And it took me a long time to really find the right fit, right? And Sean brings an incredible background and experience. He worked for a high-level firm, top 10 or top 100 in the country for 16 years out of Jackson, Mississippi, and was able to recruit him over at the beginning of last year. So it's been a really great addition to our team. Something else that was really important to me was, you know, I see all these plans, these financial plans that they're really the same, right? I mean, that you're kind of guiding an individual into your plan instead of creating a plan for the individual, right? And so it was important for me to, if I'm a shirt manufacturer, I'm not going to have one size shirt, right? It doesn't mean that somebody else can't fit into the shirt. It just might not work out very well, right? That shirt, it fits, it works, right? You just might need to get a little sunscreen on that belly if the sun's shining. So, you know, doing a custom tailor-made fit per client is something that's really important to us. The next thing is psychology. You know, and we've had some conversations over the years around the lack of importance or the importance of psychology when it comes to investing. And this is the biggest overlooked thing, I believe, in our industry, understanding who you're working with, right? Because we all know that these are two very wealthy individuals. And we all know that they are extremely different in their theory around dollars, right? But if you don't know who you're working with, but they're the same person on paper, right? The example I always like to give is, you know, Stefan and I, right? He grew up in Italy, so this is not the case. But if we grew up in the same terrible neighborhood in, you know, South Little Rock, right? And both of us, we've gotten off the school bus and with our furniture in the front car because our parents worked it, right? The type of impact that has on you, that's very real, but it can go in very different directions, right? So now you fast forward, and Stefan and I, we have the exact same job, same family dynamic, same income, we live on the same street, the same house, and same deals, right? But if the plan for me is given to Stefan, it may not work, right? Stefan, he might want to create opportunities for his kids, right? That he didn't get. They might spend and blow and go because he didn't get to do that when he was younger. Me, I might be putting money in mason jars and burying them in the backyard and getting my house paid off because I don't ever want somebody to take that from me, right? So it's very important to understand the psychology. You know, I think a lot of times when we're told about investing into retirement, you know, the plan looks kind of like this, right? Just nice, easy, steady. You just put this much into that IRA every single month, and then when you get ready, you'll retire and you'll be fine and never have to worry about anything, right? When really, reality is a little bit different, right? And I'm not a fear guy. I do not enjoy pushing people to make a decision by creating fear, but I also do not enjoy hiding truths and facts and statistics from people either. And there are real pitfalls. There are real fail points that can happen with any individual, depending on what their situation is. We just like to talk about that, and you know, we can't solve that for everybody, but we can be aware of it, right? And be cautious and do the best that we can to prepare for it. Okay, that gets us current, right? So that's kind of leading up to today. And I want to give a really quick overview of what we do, services we provide. And then I'm going to do a quick shoot from the hip, a couple of examples on some common things that we educate on. So finances, right? We do retirement planning, legacy planning, as it relates to business. Business continuity, and which is if something, a catastrophic event happens, loss of a partner, the list is a mile long. What do you have in place, or do you need anything in place to help prevent that? A business succession plan and exit. I wish that I had the source here, sorry, but there's 70% of the average business owner's net worth is wrapped up in their business, right? And if you plan on retiring, you're going to have to utilize that business in one way or the other. What is it, right? Are kids taking it over? You have 3 kids and 1 kid works in the business. You need to figure out how to properly get the ownership to one while not disinheriting the other 2. If you sell into private equity, what do you do and what's the plan? And starting to prepare for that, because one of the worst things that can happen is somebody offer you money for your business one day and you want to take it and not plan for it. So on the insurance side of the business, we've covered a lot of this already, but key person, employee retention strategies, life insurance, insurance design. And when I say insurance design, really diving deep on understanding what you need, how long you need it, if you need it, right? Long-term care and annuity. So for the sake of time, I'll move through, but us being independent is really important to understand, because we're not only able to offer the investment vehicles that the institution that we work for allows us to. If it's available, we have access to it. We're contracted through 45 insurance companies plus. So we really have a great mixture of available products that solve problems in a lot of scenarios. On the tax side, people ask a lot of times, like, you say tax advising, what does that mean? We don't do much in the way of just preparing and filing taxes. We only work with businesses and business owners, obviously. So on the tax side. And so it's something, when I was recruiting Sean, that part of it was really important to me and to him, because typically, you're able to spend more time in one return, have more impact in that return, when you're not having to deal with the communication back and forth to a lot of $350 tax clients, right? Like that, which there's nothing wrong with that, but we don't have 2 W-2 income earners in our book, and don't plan on it, right? We really want to be able to focus on businesses, business owners, and strategies that they can utilize to impact their tax burden, and educate them on it, right? We're not, it's really important to us that our clients communicate with us. If they're planning on going to California to see their sister and they're going to do some work, right? If you do that right on the front side, we can guide you on how to legally write a lot of that off. But when you didn't do it right and you bring it back to us, we're not going to break the law, right? So we really like to educate. And the biggest thing is we really have an in-depth meeting with all of our clients by the end of the year, before the end of the year. They bring projections. We talk about tax burden, estimated tax burden for the year, and what can be done by the end of the year, because there's very few things you can do January 1st for the year before. Estate tax planning, and then tax event planning. Tax event planning we'll talk a little bit about on the next slide, but it's just that one-time event in your life, right? Whether it's, maybe your grandfather passes away and leaves you an inheritance that you didn't know was coming. If that inheritance is wrapped up in any qualified investment accounts, a 401k, a traditional IRA, anything that they deferred taxes on, now that comes to you, you now have 10 years to distribute those dollars and pay taxes on it. And a lot of those inheritances are coming in an individual's highest income earning years, right? So really having a plan around that is super important to make sure you can unwind that in the tax-friendliest way possible. 1031 exchange. I'm a huge fan of real estate, if you haven't figured that out yet. And there's a lot of really great opportunities through 1031 exchange for real estate investors. We had a guy 2 weeks ago that came in. He said, hey, what's my tax burden going to be? I'm going to sell these properties. He had 13 rent houses. He was selling 7 of them. We went through all the details, came back. The tax burden was $163,000. But what's important is we ask questions, right? We don't just, all right, here's your bill, right? We ask questions. What are you doing with it? Why are you selling it? And we realized that he's buying a farm south of here, I'll say, right? So we showed him how he can sell all those properties, roll those dollars into the next real estate project that he's purchasing, and he's not going to have to pay any taxes on it at all. If they get everything done right and in time, he is literally going to save $163,000 in taxes. Right? It's not that difficult to do. So what he did right was coming to us first, because once those properties are sold, there's nothing you can do about it. Charitable remainder trust, premium finance cases, pension selection, right? There's a lot of people, I saw this at the fire department all the time, where we have 3 different options to choose from when you retire, right? And the conversation goes something like this. Well, hey man, Jeff chose A. Jeff's a sharp guy. They're doing pretty well. That's probably what I'll do. I mean, Jeff wouldn't have chose A if it wasn't the right choice. I'm choosing A, right? And Jeff is not Jack, though, right? So it's pretty mind-blowing to see the magnitude of those decisions and the information being used to help make them. All right, really quickly, I communicate in analogies best, right? And there's 3 analogies that are pieced together that really give a good overview of what we do and why it's different, okay? One is junk drawer, really highlighting financial efficiency. Next one is the optionalities, which we've talked on a little bit already. And then the last one is being a financial conductor, which again, in that illustration that showed all the seats around the client, all the professionals around the client, that's going to really lay into the financial conductor. All right, junk drawer. Long story short, we've all got junk drawer. If you really go through it, it's probably got 2 or 3 things that you don't need. It's probably missing 2 or 3 things that you do need. And then there's probably 2 or 5 of something you need one of, right? Like it's just, everybody's junk drawer is a little bit differently, but it's super inefficient from a financial perspective. And give you a really quick example of this. If you have a credit card balance of a high interest rate, a 20% interest rate credit card balance, and you are maxing out your 401k, let's say you have $5,000 on your credit card, you're not going to get 20% growth every single year in your 401k. Like I can't guarantee you a lot, but I can guarantee that, right? So what I can also guarantee you is that if you pay that credit card off, it's going to save you 20% for sure, right? So quit maxing out your 401k and pay your credit card off. And then you can go back to max out your 401k if that's what you want. So just financial efficiency, and you'd be amazed. You have them, even if you think you don't. Very rarely do I come across somebody that's really put together from a financial efficiency standpoint. Limitless options, again, we talked about some of this, but if I graduated from college and I went to work for Smith Ford, right? And I've been there for 15 years. All I know is Ford, the way that Smith Ford taught me how to know Ford, right? If you walk out onto the lot to me as a salesman and you say, hey Brent, I'm looking for a half-ton truck. What am I going to put you in? An F-150, right? That's the option I've got, right? And I can sell it to you, right? Because that's all that I know. That's all that I can sell. We like to think of ourselves as you know, from sticking with the analogy here, as like an auto conglomerate, right? We have every brand out there. We own one of those dealerships. And if you come to me and you say, hey, I want in a half-ton truck, I'm not going to say, well, okay, well, hey, Ford is a great one. I'm going to say, well, hang on a second. How come? What are you going to be using it for? What's your budget? How long are you going to keep it? What kind of miles are you going to put on it? What do you think it's going to be worth when you sell it? Is fuel mileage important to you? What's the heaviest thing you're going to haul? How often are you going to haul it? Maybe you don't need it half ton, maybe you need 3/4 ton, because your value of that truck is going to be worth more because you're pulling something heavy with it all the time. Maybe you just need a mid-size truck, Tacoma, legroom okay, right? Like if legroom's okay, we get you in that Tacoma, you're gonna get a lot better mileage on fuel mileage, and they retain their value incredibly, right? That's the approach that we take to finance. We're not pushing you in the door of what we've been trained on. We're opening up the door of options and opportunities, educating you on the ones that apply to you, and helping you make that decision, not telling you what's best for you, right? Make sense? Because we've all seen this guy, right? And there's nothing, he may be a really great car salesman. But I met a guy like that in Tulsa one time, and I regretted the purchase. So financial conductor, the last one. The micromanager again, we'll go back and forth here, okay? But ultimately, if you think about each one of these professionals, right? Each one of these professionals in your life, all of you've got most of them probably, right? They're real when you are talking directly to your banker, when you are talking directly to your money manager, CPA, they're going to push you to their sheet of music. My sheet of music is real estate. I'm very well aware of that, right? I'm not going to push people to it, but if it fits, I'm going to educate them on it, right? So it's very important to have that conductor, that financial quarterback that understands everything that there is to know about you, and then they know the right, not just a CPA, but the right CPA. They know the right money manager, right? If one of you came to us and wanted to aggressively invest 10 million, 20, $50 million, I'm not putting you with the same money manager with a startup account, right? And there's no disrespect there at all, right? But those are two very different people that do two very different things, and we want to put you in a really good spot. So the conductor is making sure that all the right professionals are in all the right seats, and they all have the right instrument, and they're playing from the client's sheet of music, not their own. Okay, common misconceptions. Something that there's so many islands out there that I love to blow up, I have to kind of narrow it down. But one of them that really gets underneath my skin is average rate of return. So when you talk to a financial advisor, they're going to grade themselves on the average rate of return. And if you listen today, and I'm not beating up on Dave Ramsey here, not entirely. I think he's great. If you want to get out of debt, he's an awesome guy. Leadership stuff, off the charts, really good. Once you get out of debt and you're trying to grow your net worth, go somewhere else, right? And what Dave Ramsey will tell you, and I can show this to you if you want me to, is that you should be able to draw 8%. The S&P 500, since the beginning of time, has averaged, I think it's like 12.01% or 12.07%, the average rate of return, 12.07%. So what he says is if you factor in 4% of inflation, then you can safely take out 8% and not worry about it, right? I'm going to show you why. Not only is that wrong, but I'm embarrassed for him when he finds out why, because it's just math. So let's just say that one of you had $1 million sitting around and you gave it to invest, okay? Try not to go down to these next two rows for a second. Let's focus on end of year one. I lost 50% of your money, right? So that puts us at a balance of $500,000. That's an average rate of return. I've only got 1 year, right? So the average rate of return is negative 50%. The following year, at the end of that second year, I gained $50,000, 50%. So 50% of 500 is 250. So now your balance is $750,000, right? But if you take negative 50 plus positive 50 and divide that for the 2 years that I've been managing your money, I haven't lost you anything. My average rate of return is 0, right? You go down to the third year, end of third year, right? Our average rate of return through 2 years is 0 right now. Gain you 9%. That puts us at a balance of $817,500. And 9 divided by 3 right? Because we're at 3%. I haven't even added my fee yet, by the way, right? But don't be upset. Why are you upset with me? I made you 3%. This is my average rate of return. It's my report card, right? I would challenge you to go find out how much money your account has made. It's really challenging. Unless you know what you put in there and can go back and do the math, it's really, really challenging to get that information out. Yeah, I don't know. You guys maybe help me solve that if I'm wrong. So this is something I really like to educate people on, because this is when you have percentages, particularly that have a negative in front of them ever, it completely blows up math and money. They don't mix with negatives. For every 1% that you lose, you have to gain 2 to get back even, right? So what are most people doing in the stock market when they're getting conservative? Bonds, right? So Stefan and I were talking about this morning. You know, in the average bond, again, I don't have the source to quote this from, but the average bond in 2022 lost 12%. You're shooting for 5 or 6, like that's a good year for bonds consistently. So in the math that I just went through, if you lose 12%, you're going to have to gain 24% to get back square. That's 4 years of 6% return in a row before you can get back to where you started. That's a big deal. I know I can nerd out on that. So sorry for going that deep. Really quick example. I don't love this, but it doesn't have a chart that goes with it. So I figured you guys would love it more. But the reason that those negatives can matter is Jason and Kathy, right? They're age 60, they have $1 million in life savings, and they're gonna take out $50,000 a year of annual draws, and then they're gonna get a 3.5% increase raise every year to adjust for inflation. So if you look here, we've got year 1, 27, 9, 7, 15. Now, if you rotate that one time, you have negative 15, 7, 9, 27. If you add all those together and get the average, it's the same as that one over there, right? Same numbers. But scenario 1 is green, where if you start out with that return, the bigger return, drawing this money out over the course of time, you run out of money at year 37. If you start with a negative, same amount of money out, right? You run out of money in 24 years, which is 13 years sooner, right? This is called sequence of return risk. And if you're not aware of sequence of return risk and you're getting close to retirement, it is incredibly important to understand that. There are a lot of strategies and tools that we can use to mitigate that, but most people are not even aware of it. So it's an important thing I love to educate people on. Lastly, I was going to get into real estate. So real quick, I hear this all the time, cash flow. Oh, why would I do that? Like, it's not even a cash flow. Let's walk through this for just a second. We're going to buy a house for $200,000. We're going to put 25% down on it. 25% of 200,000 is $50,000. My out-of-pocket expense, my investment is $50,000. We got a tenant in there. They're covering the payment. We got high interest rates right now, right? Like, how could you cash flow? Terrible idea. The appreciation, and if somebody disagrees with me here, please let me know. But I've got it factored in at 3%. That means that the value of the home will go up annually 3%. Sorry, I'm checking my time. So if that goes up 3% and you're only going to get a total of $750 in cash flow, your return on investment, your ROI on just the cash flow is 1.5%. Is that a good or bad investment? So I think most people are going to say that's a bad investment on the surface. Y'all know this is a trick question, so I'm not mad at you for not saying it. So you fast forward and we're only going to look at the appreciation value for a second. Only that 3% that's increasing in value every single year. $50,000 investment, $200,000 asset. By the way, I don't know another investment vehicle out there that you can buy a percentage of and get the entire value of the growth other than real estate. But if we're not going to get into the cash flow here, we're not getting into anything, the tax benefits, none of that. We're only going to talk about the appreciation, the 3%. $200,000 grows at 3%, it's now 206 at the end of year one. If we made a $50,000 investment, and now our investment is worth 6,000 more, that's a 12% return in some of the most tax-friendly environment that exists. I think it's a great idea. Doesn't fit everywhere though, and I don't push it. I like people to know what they're saying no to before we move on to the next option, right? And lastly, just to put this hook out there, and we can talk about it later, I can show you all day long today's interest environments at today's property values at how you could expect if you're in a 25% tax bracket or bigger, you can expect year one ROIs of 26% or better, and it will go up every year, right? So, and I told you earlier, I'm a data nerd. If you want me to prove it to you, I can, right? So I would love to if you have questions. Anybody want to go back to that slide for a second? No? Okay. So, again, this is our team. We're really excited about the opportunity to have a little disruption in the tax industry, the financial advising industry. And ultimately, if I lost you at all, right? If I had to put all 50 slides into one, we're not about account growth, right? The stock market is awesome. It's a great tool, but we're not about account growth. We're about growth in assets. We're about net worth increase, right? So in short, we like to increase your assets and decrease your taxes. And that is really our focus. So, we'd love to take the opportunity to explain how you guys could help our business. If you know a business owner if they're not happy with their taxes, they know it right now, right? That's pretty fresh on their mind. But if they're looking more for tax advising, not just somebody to file their taxes at the end of the year, we'd love to have a conversation with them to see if it's a good fit. If they have a business owner that needs to start thinking about retirement and what they can do with that business to generate some income for retirement, we'd love to have those conversations. As it relates to the individuals, anybody that's 10 years from retirement all the way to retired, someone experiencing a significant event. Again, we covered some of those earlier. Or somebody that's just interested in understanding what are their options when it comes to life, long-term care, and some other insurance needs. And we have some really great options there. It's not the only people that we deal with and work with, but this is definitely our strength, our focus, our niche. So that doesn't leave us for a lot of times with questions.
Sure.
But,
We'll open up the floor. We have 5%.
anybody have any questions? Everybody wants.
What's the future vision for Fifth Financial?
Adding more professionals in-house for sure. I would love to get to the point to where we have a couple of accountants and CPAs to kind of help on the tax side of the business. And definitely an attorney is involved, somebody, whether it's a state or tax or a combination of the two, somebody that can represent our clients and our business with other attorneys and speak that language, right? So that's, and really kind of filling our way through niching down even further. I would expect that we'll be really focused on a couple of specific industries within 24 months. Anything else?
Have you ever dealt with nonprofits or organizations like churches, for example?
Absolutely. So Sean has done some of that on the tax side, not a ton there on the tax side, but on the investment side, there's actually some really unique opportunities that don't exist anywhere else for clergy, right, for pastors. So you can pastors are the only ones out there that can invest, defer taxes, and then draw that investment out without paying taxes if it's structured properly, right? So some.
Does that apply to student ministers or?
No, you have to be an ordained minister, and then receive that income that you're deferring. That deferred income has to come from a nonprofit or church.
So a pastor kind of acts like a business, head of the business.
You do that, yeah. And any other ordained pastor that receives an income from that church or nonprofit. Anything else?
We do some like, being an entrepreneur, not all of our cash comes steady.
Sure.
In fact, sometimes it's infrequent.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hopefully a big chunk.
Right.
Will you be doing some more ongoing talks about stuff like
I would say yes. I love that kind of thing. I usually don't stop and put it together unless asked. Yeah, that is our goal, is to really, even just from a content creation and getting into to address some specific issues as we address it with our clients. That's the vision and the goal. But we love having those conversations, right? So
You're on our radar for the fall.
yeah, absolutely. There you go. There you go. I'll try to make it less than 50 slides. Yeah, and listen, if any of you have any, that QR code will take you to our website, where contact us on our website, where you can put your information in, and depending on what the goal is, what the purpose is of you reaching out, because clearly we do a lot of different things, we'll determine the next steps. Most of them involve a very quick questionnaire. It's more about the psychology and the purpose. We're not asking about your income or your account balances. To set up a phone call, that's usually a 15 to 20 minute phone call that will lead into an initial meeting is what that process typically looks like.
So you mentioned that you guys are able to offer and provide like a many number of like different financial products that best fit their needs and their problems. Yeah, are there any products that offer anything around like Bitcoin or different crypto assets?
So they are, the SEC is being forced to start accepting some of that, right? I do not currently, and now I invest into cryptocurrency personally, but I am not in a place where I am comfortable with the volatility of it. Well, I believe in it, and I will tell people what I do and my thought on it. I do not advise on the specific investment of a particular cryptocurrency and how much and why. I don't get into that, and probably for compliance reasons should, right? But I love, I know you and I talked a lot about that. Cryptocurrency is, I think, it's crazy to me how many really good advisors out there still think that cryptocurrency is a fad that's going to go away. It's not. So yeah, that's I love it, but we don't advise on it. Don't have a specific product associated to it.
Sweet.
I'll be interested to see how that develops over the coming years. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate your time. If you're not a member of the Conductor, if you're not following them on social media, such an awesome resource and group of people. So if you're a business owner or just want to learn a little bit more, definitely use that. It's really great stuff and free most of the time. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming today and presenting. We will be contacting you about fall. I'm serious. We want you to come talk again. So we have some more events coming up this month. We have next week a pitch competition at UCA. This is for college students only to participate. But if you want to just attend, be part of the judges' choice voting, we would love for you guys to come. It will be at the COB in room 311. Where we've had all of our programming there this semester, and then on the 30th we'll be back here, and we will have a mental health workshop with Kayla. She was here last year with us, and so we're going to kick off the month of May with that. And then we have a few more things coming up in May that we haven't announced yet. But if you're not sure about what building you're in right now, you haven't been here before. This is the Arnold Innovation Center, gifted to us by Conway Corporation, and so Brent, he's a member here. Mark, Miguel, there's plenty of members here. And so if you have questions, please ask us, ask a member. But it's really low cost, starting at $25 a month for entrepreneurs to work out of. So we hope you had a great time today, and we hope to see you at future events.